Hello, this is Lilian, welcoming you to the 1958th edition of the Enfield Talking Newspaper, Dateline the 19th of June 2014. The readers this week are Joan, Beverley, Rod and myself, Lilian, with Colin on the controls. The items that we will be reading come from our local newspapers, the Enfield Gazette, the Enfield Advertiser and the Enfield Independent, and are their copyright. Local stories include fuel bills to fall by up to £400, MPs debating tougher knife crime sentences, packed council chamber welcomes new mayor, and mayor and councillor get behind new housing project. I have one special news item this week which I felt that would be very useful to you. It's with the royal free acquisition of Barnet and Chase Farm hospitals. From the 1st of July 2014, Barnet Hospital, Chase Farm Hospital and their associated services will be part of the Royal Free London NHS Foundation Trust, subject to the Secretary of State's approval. Most patients will continue to receive care in the same location they received it before, the 1st of July, and should assume this is the case unless informed otherwise. If you have a hospital appointment, please carefully read the appointment details included in your letter to find out where to go for your treatment. Barnet Hospital has an A&E and an urgent care centre. Chase Farm Hospital doesn't have an A&E, but they have an urgent care centre. The Royal Free Hospital has an A&E and an urgent care centre. The telephone number for the new organisation is 020 3758 2000. That's 020 3758 2000. But the existing switchboard numbers will continue to work. Thank you. And now over to Joan, who will read the first item of local news.
The Chancellor of the Exchequer and the Mayor of London have both given a major new housing project their backing. The £1.5 million development at Meridian Water on the borders of Enfield and Haringey will see 5,000 new homes and up to 3,000 new jobs created by 2017. George Osborne and Boris Johnson were at the front gasworks site on Friday as they gave their support to the new measures to simplify planning regulations. The Chancellor said the changes would make it easier for major projects to be pushed through. Mr. Osborne said building homes is essential and that developers and planning authorities must take advantage of brownfield sites like Meridian Water. He said, "We want to build more homes for more families, and that is the way to make sure that the market doesn't get overheated and make sure families in London not only can own their home, but rent it as well." This site has been derelict for more than 20 years, and we want to make sure it is built on. By coming here, I am making an absolute commitment to the Mayor and giving him the powers he needs for this to take place. The long-term solution is to build more homes. And if we can't build on sites like these, where can we build? It is absolutely essential. Mr. Johnson hailed the potential of Meridian Water. He said, This is going to be an absolutely fantastic place to live, and the funny thing is, I have been here many times before, because it is on my cycle route. I have been past it, and I thought it must be pushed forward anyway, and any time soon. It is going to be a place of mixed communities with social housing and homes that people can buy, and that is vital to help people into housing of low cost that they can part buy and part rent. Why should London property market be restricted to affluent people who can afford the cost of a mortgage? You have to help people onto property ladders, and this is what schemes like this will help to accomplish. When asked what this site, which has been derelict for more than 20 years and had not been redeveloped sooner, Mr. Osborne said, "We didn't have a combination of the planning rules being sorted out, which we are committing to today, and there was not the infrastructure, which we are also committing to. What is great about this is that we have Labour MP Andy Love, Conservative MP Nick Dubois, plus the Mayor of London and the local council all coming together to make all this happen. The Mayor and Chancellor will be making £400 million available for 20 housing zones across the capital, and possible sites will be able to bid for a share of that pot."
Hundreds of the borough's poorest families could see up to £400 wiped off their energy bills as part of a deal between Enfield Council and British Gas that was signed off yesterday. 6 council-owned housing blocks, 4 in Exeter Road, Ponders End, and 2 on the Beaconsfield estate in Kettering Road, Enfield Lock, will benefit from energy efficiency measures including cavity wall insulation, replacement windows and roof insulation as part of the agreement. Ahmet Oykiner, Cabinet Member for Housing, said the improvements would save residents up to £400 a year, but at no cost to the council. British Gas is using its energy company obligation, under which large suppliers have to deliver energy efficiency measures to customers who live in fuel poverty, to fund the scheme. Mr. Oykiner said, "I feel extremely happy as this will lead to a much-needed refurbishment of these housing blocks. I want to thank staff who worked hard to get this done. British Gas could have walked away after the government reduced the obligation, but we managed to get a fantastic deal." The council will carry out structural repairs and remove asbestos where necessary in each of the blocks. The agreement comes a year after the launch of a £3 million pilot scheme with British Gas at Scott House, a local authority tower block with 101 flats in Woolmer Road, Edmonton, where the same improvements have been made and an oil-powered boiler has been replaced by a more energy-efficient gas boiler.
The borough's new mayor was greeted by a packed council chamber at the first full council meeting since the election. Councillor Ali Bakir had invited more than 200 guests, filling the chamber to the brim as he was officially named Mayor of Enfield. The new mayor jokingly added that he had tried to book the O2 Arena for the big occasion, but it was sold out. Upper Edmonton Ward Councillor Patricia Akechi was announced as Deputy Mayor for the next 12 months. As well as the pleasantries that kicked off the night's proceedings, Cabinet members were officially appointed, as well as much-discussed Associate Cabinet members. Councillor Bambos Sharalambos, Councillor George Sava and Councillor Ozzy Azunya will take the new roles in Enfield West, South East Enfield and North Enfield, respectively. These appointments, along with the reduction in overview and scrutiny committees and change in area forums to ward forums, were lambasted by the Conservative opposition. Councillor Mike Rye described by associate appointments as gerrymandering, noting the areas the members would cover resembled the 3 parliamentary constituencies in the borough, claiming Labour were spending public money for electioneering. Deputy Leader of the Council, Achilles Georgiou, denied the claims. He said, "This is a changing environment, and we have to see how we can better serve the residents and businesses in this borough. This scrutiny structure is used by all colours across the country, and we are adopting a structure that is effective. Each of us is very much a ward councillor, and reforming the area forums allows us to get closer to our residents. They will also allow us to bring together a process of regeneration and change." Despite attempts to defer these decisions by newly appointed head of the Conservative group Terry Neville, the Council voted in favour of the amendments.
Members of Parliament were last night set to vote on a new law which will see mandatory jail terms imposed on any adults convicted of possessing a knife for a second time. The law, proposed by Enfield North MP Nick Dubois in an amendment to the Criminal Courts and Justice Bill, was debated by politicians in the House of Commons yesterday afternoon. Mr Dubois and Enfield Southgate MP David Burrows, who seconded the amendment, are in favour of toughening up the sentencing regime. The Conservative MPs have been campaigning for a mandatory 6-month jail term for adults convicted of possessing a knife for a second time. A second clause will introduce a 4-month detention and training order for 16 to 18-year-olds convicted for a second offence. Mr Dubois told the House, "We need to send out a clear and unequivocal message about the consequences of carrying a knife, particularly to those children who don't see it as a serious offence and who are on a journey to destruction." The vote gave rise to a curious situation for the coalition government, as Liberal Democrat MPs were expected to vote against the new law, leading Conservative ministers to say they would abstain from the vote because there was no coalition agreement. Even though they backed the law, Labour MPs were expected to vote in favour. Edmonton MP Andy Love told the Advertiser yesterday, "I believe we need to send out the strongest possible signal that carrying a knife is completely unacceptable. But I don't believe it is the only step we must take. It would be wrong to think that this is the only way to solve the problem." If passed, the new law follows what became known as Enfield's Law in December 2012, when Mr Dubois put forward new legislation which meant anyone aged 16 or above convicted of using a knife to threaten someone would receive a mandatory 6-month prison sentence. It became law after the bid was endorsed by anti-knife crime campaigners, charities and backbench MPs. Yesterday's vote took place after the Advertiser had gone to press.
An inclusive theatre company has launched a fundraising effort for a project aimed at supporting children who face violence at home. The name of the new group is Face Front Theatre, based in Market Square, Edmonton Green, and is aiming to tour schools with a programme, Whisper Me Happy Ever After. This is a theatre programme for 9 to 12-year-olds that seek to raise awareness about the effects of domestic violence on the mental health of children who experience and witness it. The project is based around interactive performances and workshops aimed at providing resources and training for teachers, while also encouraging pupils to come forward and talk about issues which they face at home. Starting in October, Face Front aims to reach 5,400 young people in schools across Enfield, Haringey, Brent, Barnet, Bracknell in Berkshire. But the company needs to raise £9,500 to employ a counsellor to assist in the process of taking disclosures from children, liaising with the schools, and directing children to where they can get support. Natasha Graham, executive director at the theatre company, said, "We don't just want to go in and perform, but also have a counsellor with us at every school whom the children can talk to. We aim to work with the child protection officers, and we want to do a follow-up session with children affected after a few weeks." The project is in its third year. During the previous tour, more than 100 children disclosed issues of domestic violence, said Miss Graham, including in one school where 17 children came forward after the performance. For more information and to support the project, visit www.facefront.org.
No alcohol or cigarettes has paid dividends for the borough's latest 100-year-old. Excuse me. Stripping out 3-ton lorries during the Second World War, Ivy Hunt looked back on her life as she brought up the century earlier this month. Originally from Russell Square in central London, Mrs. Hunt moved to Chailey Avenue in Enfield in 1946 with her husband, where they lived in the back room of her mother-in-law's home. She said, "My husband's mother never liked me when we moved in there. I think it was because I didn't smoke or drink. It never interested me. I certainly wouldn't have made it to this stage if I had done." Working as an insurance clerk, Mrs. Hunt was drafted in to strip out lorries as part of the war effort in 1939. She said, "I worked in Euston Road, but then they called me up when I was 27 to get rid of Hitler, and I did. Well, sort of. I stripped out lorries for a lovely wage of 10 pence an hour and a halfpenny if I got an engine out the bonnet. We worked non-stop and never took shelter when the bombers were up ahead. We didn't notice them." When asked about family life, she said, "My son Gordon is a lovely boy and he visits as often as he can. He means everything to me." Mrs. Hunt, who has been a resident at Bullsmore Care Home since 2009, added, "I don't hold my horses with these things. I'm doing well, but my eyesight is not the best and my legs are going, but I keep going." Angela Dixon, manager of the care home, said she has a very dry sense of humour and loves to speak to people. She's a great character and loves her son to bits. She's very private, but she also loves banter between people. We are all very proud of her. She will always share things with everyone else, but I think she loves the attention when it's on her.
Lovely story. A fashion student will put himself in the shop window when his winning dress design goes on display at John Lewis later this year. Luke Hards of Durrance Road, Ponders End, will see his work displayed in the store in Brent Cross shopping centre in August. The 23-year-old was one of a group of fashion students from Barnet and Southgate College set a challenge by the department store to design a dress to celebrate its 150th anniversary. His dress was judged the winner by a panel of fashion designers, tutors, and John Lewis's fashions operations manager. Luke said, "I'm over the moon. It's an opportunity of a lifetime. I didn't believe it at first. I was so shocked. I didn't think I'd win." The students from the college in Wood Street, High Barnet, had to create a design incorporating influences from John Lewis's Heritage Collection, while also demonstrating innovative fashion from the 21st century. And to help them, they visited the company's Heritage Centre in Berkshire, where they viewed the textile collection archive, which dates back more than 200 years, for inspiration. Amanda Timothy, John Lewis's community liaison coordinator, said, "It has been fantastic to see the students developing their ideas through this competition and how they have each taken inspiration from the collection to create a modern-day dress." As well as visiting the centre, Luke analysed pictures, textiles and floor patterns. This led him to create an old-look dress, modernised by the influences of Hollywood star Audrey Hepburn and singer Amy Winehouse. Luke will now create his design using fabric from the store's haberdashery department, and it will then go on display in the women's wear section. He will also spend a day at the fashion design studio at John Lewis's head office and receive an Apple iPad. Luke added, "I'm nervous about going to the studio, but it's a great opportunity. I'm also nervous about people not liking my design, but my family's support is amazing. The opportunity is also great for Barnet and Southgate College." Runner-up was Rossetti Ray Rogers, 20, from Enfield, with Yida Tiniokova, 17, from Colindale, North West London, in third place. Each receives a John Lewis gift voucher for £25.
Primary school pupils across Enfield have been getting an introduction to opera. The 9 and 10-year-olds have been taking part in the 6-week programme run by the Pavilion Opera Educational Trust, which is being taught as part of the Key Stage 2 curriculum. It aims to provide children with an appreciation and understanding of the classical arts through music, drama and history. Geoffrey Simmons, chairman of the Pavilion Opera Educational Trust, who has been running the programme in Enfield for about 6 years, said, "It's an opportunity for children to engage in a classical art form. It combines everything and opens a window on a world they may not know. The skills they gain expand their horizons." Galliard School in Galliard Road, Edmonton, which has been taking part in the programme for the past 3 years, was one of the 4 host schools this year. The Pavilion Opera Educational Trust performed Mozart's Così van tutti at the school on Monday last week. Pupils prepared for the performance by studying the story in depth, creating written character studies and making masks in class. During the performance, the sopranos sat with the children while singing in Italian. Head teacher Penny Sullivan said the children hadn't seen the performance previously, so it was a great experience to see their learning come alive. They put in a lot of hard work, and it was the best performance I have ever seen. It is an art form that is inaccessible to a child, but with preparation it creates a learning opportunity. The Pavilion Opera Educational Trust has now performed 326 shows to more than 45,000 children in 724 schools.
The winners of the Lamb Festival essay and photography competition wowed judges with their language and illustrative skills. The competition, based on the works of writers Charles and Mary Lamb, brother and sister, whose final resting place is in the graveyard at All Saints Church in Church Street, Edmonton, saw entrance from school children and residents. The winners were announced on the final day of the Lamb Festival earlier this month. The essay competition was judged by Richard Morrison, chief music critic for the Times newspaper, and Veronica Finch of the Charles Lamb Society, and Victoria Ahola Ahur of Latimer in Hazelbury Road, Edmonton, who won the secondary school category, and Yala Shelley of Highfield in Winchmore Hill, who won the primary school category, and Jennifer Wiltshire, who scored the top prize in the open category. Of her entry, The judges said, "A warm humour from the very first paragraph. There is not a line in this essay that we did not enjoy." Raman Chowdhury was named as the winner in the open category of the photography competition, based on the titles of William Shakespeare's plays, of which The Lambs produced an abridged version for children, and Kenisha Allen of Aylward Academy in Windmill Road, Edmonton, won the secondary school category. The competition was judged by Avril Harris, a member of the Royal Photographic Society, and the Advertiser's chief photographer, Anne-Marie Saunderson. The judges said of Kenisha's image, "I love that it has been done in black and white, as it makes this particular image so much more powerful." The church is about to become an arts venue again when it hosts a special performance of Shakespeare's The Tempest on Thursday, June the 26th. The Moving Stories Company is putting on a free London preview after rehearsing at the site. Entry is free, but a donation to the church is suggested. For more information, email kitty@movingstories.org.uk. I'll go over that little bit again. Email kitty@movingstories.org.uk.
A London politician has welcomed revised plans to bring a high-speed tram network into the borough. Train network into the borough. Crossrail 2 will now include stops in Enfield and Haringey after Transport for London revised its proposals to extend the path to Alexandra Palace and New Southgate. Consultation has begun on the new routes, and London Assembly member for Enfield, Joan McCartney, urged people to take part. She said, "I'm pleased that TfL has listened to local residents and has revised plans for Crossrail 2 to address concerns that I raised, including stopping at intermediate stations in Enfield and to consult on the extension to New Southgate. This will provide greater connectivity for local residents in Enfield and Haringey and will bring a range of benefits to local communities and businesses. It's also a great victory that Crossrail 2 stations will be fully accessible from street level to the train, and this is something I've been campaigning for from the beginning. I would urge local residents to have their say on the new consultation, including the proposed extension to New Southgate, which would provide further benefits and connectivity to Enfield and Haringey."
We have now reached the end of side 1 of this tape. Please stop your machine now, take out the cassette, turn it over and start side 2.